Format's ruined already. Now make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. The only reason I'm making a video on this is my friend had a deck idea for Pittsburgh. He was like, talk to me about it. He's like, keep this quiet till after Pittsburgh. I'm like, okay. And then he messaged me. He's like, well, you may as well go make a video on it, Robbie, because it's already been talked about. So you guys remember that barrier statue that we missed? Oh, wait. What? There's a couple of barrier statues that are floating about out there. Yes, there are, actually. There are quite a couple of them left. But basically, Mitsu can now lock you underneath the water barrier statue. Oh boy, all 6 of these. I'm sure next list, every barrier statue is going to get limited. So what ends up happening with this interaction is, you guys know the whole Mitsu combo, where you get the 2 level 8s on the field, and then you just make Dragluxion. Dragluxion turbos you into 7 Tachyon, and then you 7 Tachyon and go search for water barrier statue. Congratulations! You've done it yet again. I'm more impressed right now that all of the water barrier statues have become problems. The fact that every one of these, Fossil Dyna, Jaugen, all 8 of the, what we would consider the old stun cards, they're very problematic in this current day and age. Now, I mean, there used to be a way, Solar Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a different story where you could potentially grind through some of this stuff. And if you had a smashing ground, congratulations, you just broke through and you would do combo. But modern era Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't allow for that to happen. You'll have an outlier like Sky Striker that'll play main deck destruction, sure. But if you're going into a Mitsu combo and you've got the Raigeki Illusion Gate, Illusion Gate's not legal yet, but in terms of testing, if you have any of these board wiping cards, you just kind of win. Now, with Pittsburgh literally a week away at this stage, do I think that Mitsu is going to be a problem doing this? Yes. I wholeheartedly think that any of the decks in the room that get access to a floodgate potential like this are going to be problematic, and people aren't going to enjoy playing against that. It's that simple, man. The emergency list was a good thing, but I think Konami's reaction to only cleaning up a couple of the barrier statues kind of speaks volumes for what they themselves were expecting. They weren't expecting somebody to go, oh yes, let's go abuse another barrier statue. No, they weren't expecting that. They took a look at the Gallant Granite searching and said, oh, hey, we've nipped this in the butt. There goes the Earth Barrier statue. There goes Fossil Dyna. They took a look at Fire King, who was actively playing it, and said, okay, cool. We took care of this. The one saving grace, actually 2 saving graces, that we have with the Mermail and Crystron. There are 2 water decks in the room that naturally were already playing the water barrier statue, but, could play the water barrier statue. Crystron's not going to play that garbage. They need their normal summon to go into Noroi to go down full combo. Mermail can play around the water barrier statue. Crystron in its current form really cannot. I like to think that they could, but they got to get, their big guys. And I feel like I guess you can normal summon the Noroi and then go attack over the barrier statue, which I guess is something that you could try to do. But you're already going to be in such a weird position by that stage that breaking that field isn't going to really be all that crazy. What else does Pittsburgh have that's going to be interesting about this format? So, the other cool thing about this upcoming YCS is this will be the first event that we will truly get to see how these Forbidden and Limited changes are actually shaping up. Did Konami actively know what they were actually doing, yes or no, with this? And, I think for the best part that they did do a good job. Now, did we truly need an emergency list, or did we need to shift around? You guys have to understand that our next set isn't until December, and we're kind of in this abnormally long block of a format. And because we're in such a long boy of a format, Konami doesn't really... They didn't want to change things up and kind of dilute some of those results and invalidate things. Their job was to, one, make the game look playable again, because when your event is looking absolutely garbage and it's unwatchable by the player base, there's issues, man. There really are. So the game has to be watchable to a degree. So I think they've done a good job at that. Outside of that, I mean, you're still going to have yummy Mitsu rugi running around. You're still going to have a lot of the craziness that kind of comes along with that. So I don't know. I think we'll have to wait and see. There is no surprise factor right now. The biggest catch-all surprise whale that is floating in the background is the idea that somebody is going to play this water barrier statue in Mitsurugi. That's it. That is the greatest level of innovation that you are going to have. Predictions for winning this upcoming YCS? I think I got to go with the classic Mitsurugi Yummy at this point. One thing that this list did was they made Mitsurugi Yummy a better deck to play into the format. When you're scraping off these, floodgate monsters that were quote-unquote slowing down decks, and then, of course, Protos is calling floodgates, and, limiting those sorts of interactions, then, it kind of makes Mitsurugi Yummy into a better deck. I'm not saying that floodgates were a necessary evil at that stage, but you kind of got to think about the problems that come along with it. And then, of course, there is also the talk about Genesis format. You got to remember, this is also going to be Genesis format's new debut with the latest point changes, where Vanquish Soul has kind of been rolled back a little bit, where we're going to be seeing, is Runic going to take over? There's been a lot of talk about Runic right now in Genesis format. A lot of the reasoning for that is just simply because, Radiant Typhoon, we can splash it into that. You can play Radiant Typhoon Runic and kind of ruin your opponent's day. I mean, sure, you can't summon the Runic monsters, but it just turns into a deck out strategy at that point. It ends up drawing a lot of cards. It ends up being kind of a slow roll of, generation that just kind of starts to build advantage over time, which is kind of cool, I guess. Lunalight still kind of remains in the background. I think Konami has done a pretty decent job with trying to balance Genesis format. If you show up with an FTK and, you don't necessarily get it done, Konami takes a note of that and goes, hey, we missed this. They pencil it down and they take care of it during, an upcoming Forbidden Limitless. Look at, what happened to BLs, for example. While it wasn't a consistent FTK, Konami does not want FTKs within this format, which I still kind of argue limits some of the innovation and things that players try to explore with, but at the same time, it is a good sign on principle that, we're taking care of problems actively, and the communication within Genesis format has been actually very, very nice. With the current state of where things are going for November's meta here, I'm not happy with the game at the moment. Genesis format seems fine. Current format Yu-Gi-Oh! Is okay. I myself am not going to Pittsburgh. I considered it, but it's just not worth it at this point. I'd rather just sit at home and relax and, play another card game. We've got a good chunk of events coming up here in November for that across the region that I'm going to try to hit up. And I know a lot of people have been enjoying this game, so hindsight is what it is. But what do you guys think about the water barrier statue? What do you guys think about Genesis format? What do you guys think about YCS Pittsburgh and how all of this is going to kind of shape up? I know. Three barrier statues, light, dark, and water remain. And we will see how they end up changing the meta here. But please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Yeah, this game's a mess. You guys have a good rest of your day, alright? Peace out. Thanks for watching today's video. Check out tradingcardmint.com down below in the description. Enter MCOL40 on checkout. Save a little bit of money on your purchase. Check out mcolgames.com if you're interested in getting some cool play mats and single trading cards as well. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss one of our videos. Thanks for watching.